Hey, welcome to Tabletop Skirmish Games. I'm Lee, and in this video we'll be going through a game book review for Reign in Hell, the demonic skirmish combat game. We've been talking about Reign in Hell, the demonic skirmish combat game in my Patreon group, so I thought it'd be fun to pick up a copy, and so in this video we're going to do a game book review, and we'll have a flick through of the book, look at what it's all about, a little bit of the narrative, and then the rules and the mechanics, and then hopefully this will give you an idea whether or not this is something that you'd like to pick up and add to your game collection. I got my copy from Wargame Vault for $10, so I paid just over £7, so great value. At the time, it was only available as a PDF, but you can get the print version. So the PDF is $10 and the print version is $15, but if you pick up the print version, you do get the PDF for free. So a great combo deal there, and that's available at Wargame Vault, and I'll put a link in the description below so that you can easily find it. Here we go, here's Reign in Hell, the demonic skirmish combat game, and this is developed and written by Adam Loper and Vince Venturella, and if you follow Tabletop Skirmish Games on YouTube, then you'll certainly recognise those names. They put out some great content for all wargaming fans, for all different games, so it's really cool to see them coming together and collaborating on a game of their own. And right away the cover's got this nice black and white old school vibe to it. I love the red eyes there coming through for the demon, so it's a great start to the book. But let's have a look at what we're going to get inside, and you can see it's developed by Snarling Badger Studios. And here's the table of contents. So we're going to get the story of Hell, find out a little bit about the background, what the game's all about. We're going to learn how to play the game, build our Cabal, which is like your warband. We're going to look at movement and combat, the field of battle, campaign play, scenarios, and a rules summary. And it also gives you all the sheets you need to play the game and keep track of all your fighters. So here's our first introduction to the scene where this is all going to take place. And it's going to take place in Hell, which is an actual place. And it does not reside in our mortal dimension as we know it, but it is real and it's not what it used to be. And so it tells us that Hell is not the place you've read about from the texts and dogmas, but it and its denizens are the inspirations for the stories of Hell that show up in religions the world over. And Hell is currently a place of madness and strife, ruin, destruction and rubble. It was always a place that humans would find generally inhospitable, hot, dry, steeps reeking of sulphur, damp toxic bogs, ice-bound rocky tundras, but there were also structures, massive fortresses, countless bureaucratic ziggurats. There was an order to Hell, but that is Hell no longer. So the idea is we're in some kind of apocalyptic hellscape, and so a great setting for this game. So I think this could be really interesting, and we can certainly make use of all the different miniatures and terrain we've got in a setting like this. Certainly if we play Warcry or Age of Sigmar, that kind of thing. And that's with this game, it's a miniature agnostic, so you can use any miniatures you like with this, as you'll find out as we keep reading through. So here we're going to get now a couple of pages that gives us a nice background into it, and not too much. I like these rule books where you don't get a huge amount of story behind it, because it lets you then fill in the gaps with your own imagination, and you can start to develop the world around your Cabal, your warband, and the kind of idea of the game that you've got in your head. So just having these 2 pages here to set the scene, I think is great, and I think that's all you really need with a game like this, and we can get started really quickly then and really put ourselves in that world and start filling it out with our own imagination. So that's what I really like. But now let's look at how they kind of go through playing the game. And it tells us here that Reign in Hell is a fast-paced, brutal, miniature agnostic skirmish game set in Hell, and you lead your Cabal, which is a group of demons, on a quest to reshape the face of Hell according to your philosophy. And the game can be played as a one-off engagement or part of a campaign, which we'll look at as we go through the book. And you can grow your Cabal in power and attract or evolve more powerful demons. So it doesn't tell us if we can play solo or not, so that'd be interesting. I've read through it and I couldn't see anything about the solo play in there, so I may have to look on YouTube and just see if anything's been put out for that. but I'm sure, just like Warcry, I tend to play both sides and put my head into each warband as I take their turn and kind of have an idea of the tactics I want to play going into the battle. I'm sure that could be easily applied here, but until I play a few games I wouldn't really know, and so yeah, it'd be good to figure out how to make this a solo game. But to get started, and what we need to play is pretty much, if you play Warcry, you're going to have everything. You need a play area, roughly 22 by 30 inches, flat space or table, and so if you play Warcry, you're going to have those boards already. But even if you've got different size mats or 2 by 2 boards, you could just put those together and overlap them a little bit, and that would be easy to put together, no problem. And then so for terrain, again, the way they described it on that front page, we can use ruins, we can use like wastelands. So this apocalyptic kind of landscape is going to let us use anything we want. We can have frozen terrain, we can have like bogs and all that kind of thing. So there's going to be lots of options for us to use stuff we've already got or create something specific for it. I mean, we can even use buildings. There's certainly going to be pockets of like civilization, I imagine. So you could even use buildings, and that's up to you again how you do that, whether you go for like modern style maybe. Like I always think of it like, or imagining it as you'd have like as above so below, so the hellscape could almost be a reflection of the earth above it. So you could set hell in our current time, but like flipping it, so you could have like a cityscape underneath that's been completely like destroyed through fire and battles, and so you could have like modern day, almost like Stalingrad kind of terrain where all the buildings have been completely demolished, and I think that would fit into this. So I think that would be quite fun, and be interesting to see how that would play out. But once you've got your terrain figured out and you know what you're going to use, you just need 7 to 10 miniatures to represent your demons. And they've got some recommended base sizes that they'll go through in the demon list later in the book. We'll also need some D12 dice and at least 10 D6 dice. And for the D12 dice, you need just as many for the number of demons you've got in your Cabal. So if you've been playing anything like Warcry, you're going to have all this already. The D12s you might not have, so that might be something you need to pick up for sure. So, but otherwise, it sounds pretty good, and a miniature agnostics game. You can buy demon miniatures from loads of different suppliers on Etsy. I've seen some great ones. 3D printing's amazing now, but certainly if you're into Warhammer, you're going to have tons and tons of miniatures. So I'll do a separate video on miniatures for this game, because I think there's loads of options, so it'd be good to do a video looking at what those options are. Then we've got our Glossary of Terms, which is just going to give us all the different words for this. So we've got the Cabal, which is our like warband. You've got your Devout, which is kind of the lieutenant, who then is like second to your leader, and then you've got your minion demons who make up the rest of the warband, and then you've got souls, and you need to use soul dice to represent these in the game, and this is great. So souls are like the currency of hell, and so these are what's fought over or traded, and that's a really interesting concept. This is how you build your Cabal, depending on how many souls you've got. That's your currency for everything. So if you want to upgrade as you go through, you've got to collect more souls. So I really like that. That's a really great idea. And then that takes us on to an example of play. And one thing that isn't in the book is like any visual examples, which I really like to see in the kind of rule books that I've already got. But when I start read through this, you really do picture the flow of the game and how it works. So I think the way that they've done these examples with text is really, really good. And I don't think you need, for this, you certainly don't need any like visual aids. I think that it flows nicely, and the way they've written it is just nice and simple and straightforward, and it just makes sense. So there's no like flowery language in this. It's just as nice and logical, so you can kind of work through those steps for the example of play. So I really like how they've done this, and this is throughout the book. And then just on the side notes here, you'll see you've got little sentences just to kind of explain things in a little bit more depth if you want to, and just kind of directing you to different pages within the book to just expand on some of the things they've mentioned. So this is going to be our first main example, and this gives you a good flavour of what the game's going to be like. And then we go on to start and play, and one of the big features of this game is the rolling initiative, and both players roll a number of d12s equal to the number of demons currently alive in their Cabal, and each player then places those d12s in order from highest to lowest on their play sheet. and it's these dice they'll use to activate individual demons within their cabals. And again, we get a nice example here. So if your cabal consisted of a leader, your devout, and 4 lesser demons, you'll roll 6 d12s. And if you get 11, 10, 8, 8, 4, 2, then you place those dice in the area on top of the play sheet. And the play sheet's included in the book for you to print off and use. And so we'll see that later on as we go through it. So I really like this initiative. First time I found this in a game was in a game called Mercs, and I really like that. They use the D10s, and for them you would roll, but you roll for each of your fighters. So when you roll a dice, you know you're rolling for one of the fighters, and then they get that dice. But the difference with this Reign in Hell game is that you just put the initiative dice in order from lowest to highest, and then you work your way down. Say if you've got a 12, you would go first, and then but you can assign it to any of your fighters, so the dice aren't tied in to specific fighters. So that gives you a bit more creativity and a bit more freedom. It also takes away the randomness of it, so you can be, although it still is random because you don't know which of the 2 players is going to activate their fighters at what stage, you can control which specific fighters you activate for which specific initiative dice. And again, we've got a nice example here for a round of activation. So it makes it nice and clear how it works. And just on the side, you get another bit more of information detailing why they've chose this and how this activation system is designed to make the game flow. Another good feature of the game is the idea that you can retreat. So if a cabal has lost more than 50% of its members, rounding up, then that cabal can choose to retreat instead of roll initiative. And then all the demons will be removed from the board, and they're considered the loser of the scenario, regardless of the current score. But if you're playing a campaign and you want to keep some of these minions and some of the maybe some of the relics you've got and things like that, then that might be a good idea. But there is a penalty, because if you retreat, and if you have any demons that are slain that were carrying relics, you've got to roll a dice for each slain demon carrying a relic. And on the result of 1, any relic they were carrying is lost and removed from the cabal permanently. So that's a nice idea, and maybe you can keep some of your fighters in the game a bit longer, in your campaign a bit longer, I should say. That then brings us on to building the cabal. And in Reign in Hell, you control a cabal of fanatical demons bent on bringing their philosophy into reality. So to build your cabal, there's a few rules you've got to follow. So the first step is to determine the game type, and is this a one-off game or a campaign? And then depending on which game type you're going to play, you get a number of souls to use, and it also tells you the restrictions, so what kind of demons you can buy with those souls. Then you select your philosophy, and this is a good part of the game where your cabal or demons are fighting for something, a vision of hell they want to see brought into reality. And so these are called philosophies. And so they shape the nature of the leader, the devout, and the play style of the individual cabal. And so we'll go into this in a little while. But so once you've decided on your philosophy, then you create your leader. And you get one leader. You've got to have one, so that's important. And there's a process to that as well, but these don't cost you any souls, so you don't have to spend from that bank of souls you start with for your leader. Then the 4th step is to add your devout, and this is like the lieutenant for the leader. And again, the philosophy is going to have a particular devout demon that can represent it, and they're not going to cost anything either. Then after that, you've got another step, which is step 5, where you select your minion demons, and this is where you build up the kind of chaff units and all the different fighter types that are included, and they are going to cost you souls at this time. And then once you've done that, you complete your play sheet and fill out all the sections there. So now let's look at those philosophies, and there's 6 philosophies altogether. They're Lords of Hell, Earthbound, Demented, Brokers, Judges, or the Empty. And so this is going to give you lots of different fighting styles, and this is a really fun part of the book that I enjoyed reading, learning about these different philosophies. And with each one you're going to get like a quote, you're going to learn a little sentence about the devout demon, iconography, beliefs, and then each philosophy is going to give bonuses and abilities as well. So that's really fun. So this is a good part of planning before you get started. There's a lot of planning to this, which I really like, piecing together your cabal and really kind of honing in on that philosophy and then building around that. So that was really a fun part of this that I really like, and I'm really looking forward to putting together a cabal using this system. And you can see then we go into a bit of detail at each section. So for Lords of Hell, let's use that as our example. You get a quote, so it's better to reign in hell than, well, it's better than everything, frankly. Then you've got your Devout Demon, which is Lord of the Pit. Common iconography, castle, tower, mountain, triangles, and crown. And then you've got beliefs. So this is everything in the universe heeds hierarchies. From the lowest lobsters to the gods themselves. Everything has an order. The powerful, the capable, and the strong at the top. The weak, the foolish, and the incapable at the bottom. It is the natural order of things. And then you've got like a leader bonus. So your leader's natural majesty and power is hard for others to overcome. And then you're going to get like a little bonus for that. So reduce the combat attack dice of any enemy attacking your leader by 1. And you're also going to get a special ability. And again, this is for your charismatic leader, this is called. So when building your Cabal, you may recruit 1 additional lesser minion for free. So each philosophy is going to be laid out like this. You can see you've got Earthbound, you've got Demented, Brokers, and Judges. And then finally the Empty. So this is going to give you completely different overview for each philosophy. With the philosophies taken care of, we move on to the different types of demons. And so you've got leaders and devouts here. And so for your leaders, you've only got 3 types. But it may not seem like a lot, but it's enough. And when you start combining these with the different things like the philosophies, your devout, and your minions, then it all kind of comes together. And you can have a lot of personalization to this. So you get a warrior, a schemer, or a zealot. And then with your devout, you get 6 different types. So you can have Lord of the Pit, Executioner, Madness Demon, Tallyman, Succubus, Void Demon. So again, 6 different choices. Then you can marry that up with your leader and for some really kind of dynamic cabals going forward. So this is the way you kind of start building on that philosophy, then choose your leader and your devout, and then move into the minions. And so you got lesser demons, greater demons, and superior demons. And there's going to be some restrictions when you get started as to which ones you can use, again depending on the style of play you choose. So now we move on to your leader demon, and there's a section all on this. And so once you've chose your leader type, you can see you're going to get different statistics for move, life, and combat, and a different special abilities as well. So this section is going to detail what those special abilities are. So another great read here, looking through and seeing what you're going to include. You also get leader essences, and so once you know how many you can choose, you would pick from here. So you get a few different options. Again, you're not overwhelmed by how many to pick from. So, but it's enough to make it random enough and to get that feeling that you're really making something and creating a personalized cabal. Then we've got leader relics, and again, you get a nice selection to choose from. And so once you know your leader type, and then you've got all the different details going forward, these are really going to influence your gameplay as well. Then we move on to the Devout Demon, and that works in a similar way. So you can see that you've got each one with all their kind of abilities and special abilities laid out. And then lesser demons, greater demons, superior demons. And then we move on to the movement and combat section. So with movement and combat, the idea is you can move and then you can fight. But you can't move twice and you can't fight twice. So if you've played Warcry, you know that you get two actions during your activation, and you can choose to move, fight, move, fight, whatever you like. So you've got lots of different combinations there. But here you can move and you can fight, and so you can't do 2 of each of those things. But it's important to note that you don't have to move and you don't have to fight. And for moving your demons, they have their move ability, so that tells you how many inches they can move. Some of the demons can also fly, and you can climb. And so in climbing, though, you have to end your movement on a horizontal surface that the model will balance on. And if you're kind of climbing, then it's half the normal distance. So if you want to climb 3 inches vertically, then you must end on a horizontal surface, and you must have enough in your movability. So you need 6 inches of movement to be able to climb 3 inches vertically. So the movement's nice and simple, and once we play a demo game, you'll see this playing out no problem. Right, that brings us on to combat, and demons deal with most aspects of the world around them via combat. And this section now is going to explain how it works. So there's different styles and also how the damage is dealt. So this is another section I really like, the combat style. And there's 3 different ways of combat. You can do a running skirmish, charge, or a focus combat. And with the running skirmish, you can make your combat attack roll at any point during your movement. So if you've got a movement of 6 inches, you can move 2, then attack, and then move the remaining 4 inches of your movement. So that's really good. Then you've got the charge, and you may not charge if you're within ½ inch of an enemy, and you must end your move within 1 inch of the enemy and may not move again for any reason. And the combat score increases by 1 for your attacks made at the end of that movement. Then you've got a focus combat, and you may not move, but your combat score increases by 1 for attack and defense rolls made until the next time that model is activated. So this is a really nice trio of combat styles you can choose from. If you do the running skirmish, you've got that advantage of going in, attacking and running away again, but you're not going to get any modifiers to your attack roll or your defense roll. If you do a charge, then your attack roll is modified, but if you do a focus combat, both attack and defense rolls are modified. So that's really cool. I really like that mechanic. And then it goes on to tell us about combat range, combat score, and to hit number. And again, nice and simple. So combat score versus the target. If it's greater than, then you only need a 2 or more to hit. If it's equal to, then you only need a 3 or more to hit. And if it's less than, you only need a 4 or more to hit. So really simple there. Again, there's a nice example underneath. And so let's read through that. So a slaughter fiend with a combat score of 6 is attacking a mephit with a combat score of 3. 6 is greater than 3, so the hit number for the Slaughter Fiend's attack is 2, and the Slaughter Fiend needs to roll a 2 or higher to hit the mephit. So nice and simple, and another great mechanic for the game. So I like how it's nice and easy, and you'll see that there's not an awful lot of rules in this game, so you can get started really quickly. Once you've determined what the numbers needed, you'd make your attack roll, and to do this, the demon rolls the 6-sided dice equal to their combat score. So if they've got a combat score of 6, they'll roll 6 dice. And again, we're going to get another example. So let's build on that slaughter field example we just saw. And so they'll roll 6d6 dice, their current combat score. And for each 2+, that's a successful hit. The slaughter fiend rolls the 6 dice and gets a 1, 2, 4, 4, 5, and 6. Meaning 5 of those rolls were successful. So nice and simple. And then there comes the combat defense roll. So once you've rolled your attack dice, the demon who was being attacked now makes a combat defense roll, rolling a number dice equal to their combat score. And they need 6s now. So each 6 will be a successful defense. And then that brings us to damage. So if they didn't roll any 6s, for every successful attack dice that was not defended with a 6, that target's going to suffer 1 point of damage. And then you subtract that from their life score. So nice and simple. And then it tells us all about the slain demons and soul dice. So this is how you can gain more soul dice. So whenever a demon is slain by a demon you control, and one of your demons is within 3 inches of the slain demon, you can harvest soul energy from that demon. And this is represented in the game by soul dice. And each time you slay a demon, and it says here friend or foe, so you could even kill your own demons, then you basically roll a d6 and place the result on your play sheet. And throughout the course of the game, you can choose to expend these soul dice for bonuses or keep them as additional rewards at the end of the game. So that's really great. So you can start to, as you start to kill off those demons, either your enemies or your own demons, roll those d6 and then start accumulating some soul dice. So I really like that too. Another nice mechanic there. And then we get a bit more information here about the soul dice and how they play into the game. So that's pretty much the kind of mechanics for the rules for movement and combat. So really simple, but enough I think to make it really fun and really quick, which is what they're kind of going for. Also brutal, so you can imagine you could soon rack up some damage there with all those combat dice rolling in and to defend them with 6s. But now let's look at the field of battle, and this is going to give us some rules for our terrain. So this is really great. And so here we've got ruins, and there's some optional ruins rules you can employ if you want to. So again, for each one, it's dead simple. There's not pages and pages of rules. If you're playing a forest game with no ruins or anything else, just purely forest terrain, then this is going to give you all the information you'd need right here. So nice and easy. And then it goes into all the different ones. You've got a random terrain table if you want to use that, or you can just make it up yourself, so you can generate your own table. Then we move into the campaign play, another nice part of the game, and it's going to go through exactly how to get play in and set up your Cabal ready for a campaign. And in the post-game process, there's a number of steps you have to follow. So when the game comes to a close, each Cabal completes the 6 steps below, starting with effects of death. And so we work through the different steps. There's tables to roll on. I'm not going to go into too much detail. This is really fun to read through, and I definitely recommend spending time looking at this because this is a great part of the game. So then you've got Cull the Weak, so you can get rid of some of the demons who aren't that great and get some stronger demons, some new ones back in the game. You've got reward tables, essences you can find, relics. You've got titles, so this is really cool. I like this part too. You can start gain titles, and it says not all rewards are gained through time or luck. Some are gained through grit and earned on the field of battle. And once you've completed all the steps that we've just seen, you check against the titles below to see if any demon in your warband earned a title. And so I've seen a few people on YouTube saying this reminds them of Call of Duty kind of thing, and it certainly does. But with this, you don't just get like a little badge, you also get a benefit. So if we look at Regent Slayer, to get that title, you need to slay 2 different enemy leaders over any number of games. And then the benefit to that is that you increase your combat ability by 1 when fighting enemy leaders. And so titles is really fun. And you can see there's a few pages here giving you some different titles that you can acquire. And I can really see myself expanding on this and coming up with some unique titles, keeping the mechanics that they've included in it, but maybe rewording it to make it more personalised. I think that'd be really fun. Then our 5th step is advancement, and so your leader and your devout are going to advance. So these are the benefits, and you can see that the XP they have to gain to get those benefits. And it's cool how they've done this because the leaders don't need as many XP to go through these advancement stages, and then the devout, they need a few more XP points to go through the stages. And then as we flick through to the minions, they need a lot more XP to go through, and they don't have as many stages either. So you can see that it's really focusing on the leader and the devout, and it's going to be a lot easier to develop them, but they really influence the Cabal and style of play a lot. So that was a nice little touch that they put in too. I really like that. And then we're on to step 6, which is called Recruitment and Expeditions. And once you've completed all the other steps, you can choose to spend stoles on either recruiting more demons or sending them out on an expedition. So the expedition is where you send your demons out or hire mercenary demons to search ruins and wreckage in hell for powerful essences and unique relics. But there's some dice rolling and some kind of things that can happen if you do that. So, if you pick a normal expedition, then you immediately spend 10 souls. And at the end of the next battle you complete, as long as at least 1 demon from the Cabal has survived, you can roll a d6. And on a result of 4+, you roll 1 additional time on the reward table. And on any other result, nothing happens. So, you can get some extra relics and things like that from that reward table. So this is really cool. That brings us on to scenarios, and if you're playing a single game, you can choose or roll a d12, and then that's going to randomly pick one of the scenarios from this table here. And then if you're playing a campaign, the idea is that you roll on the table below, but re-roll any result that's a duplicate of a previous scenario that you've played. And so you've got to go through and try and play each scenario in the list at least once. And here's an example of a scenario. So nice and simple, 1 page with everything you need on it. It's got how many players can play in it. It's got the terrain notes, the setup, the victory conditions, the rewards, any special rules on the side, and then a little map at the bottom just to show where you put the players and where the main terrain that's associated to the scenario will go. So 1 page, all you need to get going. And again, if you're familiar with Warcry, this is going to be a pretty similar layout, so really quick and easy to get in, but not going over the top with text, keeping it nice and simple so we can focus on getting those games played and building on the narrative with our imagination here. And some of them have got a few more special rules to go through, which will be on the side, but the main victory conditions and all that, nice and straightforward. So we're getting lots of these, going to get 12 different scenarios, and then that brings us to a gameplay reference, and this is going to go through activating, moving, fighting again, continued, and then soul dice, keeping it nice and simple, giving us all the main points we need to play the game. Then we've got our play sheet, and you can see on the top right here is where we put our activation dice, and then below those you've got the square sections for the soul dice, and then all our demons and everything, all the information about them with their relics, abilities, philosophy, any special abilities, essences and all that kind of thing, even their titles, all gets laid out there, and you get another sheet for all your other minions too. So nice and straightforward, nothing fancy, but it's got everything you need on that form to play the game and keep track of everything you accumulate as you play through it. And then that brings us to the end of the book, and this is the back cover. So if you get the printed book, this is what your back cover is going to look like. I really enjoyed reading through this book, and it's quite a small book to read, 65 pages. It's not a huge amount, and so quite quick to read through, but it read really nicely, nice and smooth. The language wasn't overly complicated, and it just got down to all the main things you need to get going and get playing. And I think if they're looking for a fast, brutal game, I think these rules, just from reading the book, really kind of give me that idea, and I really can imagine it being as they say it's going to be. So that was really cool, and I can't wait to give it a go on the tabletop. So I'll certainly have a look through all the miniatures I've got and some other options online, put together a video for that so you can see how to build a Cabal. Then we'll do a video of building our Cabal and putting it together, working through those philosophies, the leader, the devout and the minion demons. And I think then it'll be fun to do a little trial game, and then we can actually review the game. So this is really a read through and review of the book, but it'd be great to do a review of the actual gameplay on the tabletop. I'd love to hear what you think of the game, whether you've picked it up already or just from what you've seen in this video, so join in the comment sections below. It'd be great to hear from you. And if you want to pick up the game, I'll put the link in the description below, and so it's £10 or $10 for the PDF, just over £7, or for $15 you can get the print book, and the PDF comes with that included in the price. So 2 options there, and I think to support these YouTubers, I think that's a really great way to go. If you like this kind of content and would like to support the channel, then please check out my Patreon page, and thanks to everyone who's joined so far. It's really awesome. We hang out on Discord, talk about the hobby, share ideas and help each other out, and you'll get some perks there that you're not going to find anywhere else. So I'll put a link in the description, and it'll be great to see you there. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I can't wait to do another one where we look at the different miniatures you can use for your Cabal and also a kind of demo game. I think that's going to be really fun. But thanks so much for watching. Please like if you like it, subscribe for more videos like this, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to join me next time on Tabletop Skirmish Games.